Okay, let's come to an agreement right now, all right? Please don't send me any more Into the Spider-Verse spoilers. Just based on email subject headers and tweets, messages across Facebook and what have you, I know way too much about Into the Spider-Verse. How the hell are all you seeing it so soon? More to the point, I have not yet seen it, and I'm dying to. I'm really, really excited for it, but I know way too much about it. Let's just put little spoiler alerts in our messages to one another, shall we? Welcome to the Matt Sager Podcast, this Thursday, December 13th. It is a gray and gloomy evening here in New York City, and deserted to boot. I mean, the city looks like an actual ghost town. And it's not like it's freezing or anything, it's unpleasant, but hardly like a reason to empty out the biggest metropolis on the planet. I mean, I was just at the grocery store. That too was deserted, aisles empty, staff gone. It is weird. This is the city that never sleeps. It looks like a horror movie outside, like a Cloverfield event has happened, and I wasn't aware of it, which maybe it did. So here's a question. Santa Claus. Hero or menace? I'm leaning toward hero, but there's obviously a lot of nuance to this story. It's the one story where someone didn't whip out a phone, because video of this would have been very, very helpful. But all right, so in England, in St. Ives, if you've heard the rhyme, I met a man from St. Ives who knew a woman who had 7 wives, all of them had 7 cats and sacks. It's a whole thing, but it's a real place in England. One in which there was a big event where people brought their kids, parents brought their children to meet Santa Claus, who, I hope we all are on the same page here. We understand that's a fictional character. But for kids, they get to sit on his lap, tell him everything they want, iPad Pro, New York Dolls book. Oh, this is my wish list. Nintendo Switch games. I'm sorry, I'm reading from my own list to Santa. But these kids are sitting on Santa's lap and going, yes, I want an iPhone, I want my video games. Because that is exactly how British people really sound. And a fire alarm went off, and they started evacuating. And see, the thing is, this is why video would have been so crucial to me understanding the real gist of this story, because there are differing accounts of what actually went down. But apparently, the parents and children were already filing out in an orderly fashion, which is what you're supposed to do in the case of a fire. And Santa jumped up, ripped off his beard, and said, "Everybody get the fuck out! This place is on fire!" And the kids are now saying that they're traumatized, and the parents are going, "What? This is what the hell? What do you want?" Gotten themselves into a very British kind of outrage. And the kids are, tucking in their little soldier coats and, what did Santa say, Pop-Up? What did he say, Mum? And the children are described as traumatized. And in all honesty, I'm trying to think. My childhood started being traumatic at about age, I want to say 6. If I were 5 or 4 and I was sitting on Santa's lap and he said, "Get the fuck out of here," that probably would have left. At the bare minimum, it would have been a story I'd still be telling around the holidays with friends and family. And that's probably the extent of it. And to be fair, this is why I wish for video. This is the gist of why. Because if they were filing out too slowly, or if there was a kid still sitting on his lap and the place was on fire and Santa was just like, "Oh my God, what do I have to do to get you people out of here? We're going to die. Get the fuck off me." Then that I would understand. If he just had a panic attack and started swearing and ripped off his beard, well, he probably shouldn't be working as a Santa. And it's possible that there should be a test for Santa aptitude. Hey, at the SATs, Santa aptitude test, where, okay, there's a fire drill and a kid's on your lap. Do you A, rip off your beard and yell, "Everybody get the fuck out"? B, say, "I'm sorry, little child, but I and you and all my reindeer and all the wonderful toys you're going to get need to make a hasty egress." Or C, stay there and let everyone catch fire. There's obviously only one answer there that would make sense for any kind of mall Santa I'd bring my kids to if I were to have kids, which I'm not. I'm never having kids. Anyone who's seen me with my cats understands that I would be a dangerous parent. I would have a child who would run over people and get off scot-free, like that affluenza kid from a couple years ago, who didn't understand what the word no means because he'd been pampered and spoiled, and his parents never told him that something he did was wrong. The way my cats run my life and the life of my friends and romantic interests and family is ridiculous. And when I'm done catering to their needs, I'm like, "Oh, did I do that right? Maybe they need a little more love. Maybe they need a little more affection." A cat can handle that because cats can be dealt with. But a human being, given the kind of unconditional love that I sadly am just incapable of not giving things I have affection for. When I love something, I love it just way too much. I let it get away with all kinds of crap. My cats wake me up most nights. Not constantly, but probably 6 or 7 times each night. I get a sort of little gentle smack across the face, maybe a little tap on the nose, and it's clear. In case it weren't, one cat is sort of bonking me on the nose and another cat is standing upright pointing at the treats. And I gotta bring them down. and not even just dole them out to them one at a time because I want to go back to sleep. So that is why they know that when I'm sleeping is the ideal time to ask me for treats, because I just reach up, grab the entire bag, take a handful of them, and just dump them out on the bed. And the cat just start munching down on them right in front of me. So an actual human with that sense of superiority and propriety over me would just be unimaginable. And yes, there is such a thing as loving something too much or too unconditionally. And it's a condition with which I'm afflicted. And with my cats, it is completely manageable. Humans, not so much. But Santa, it seems to me that if there's a risk of people dying in a fire, you don't want to curse around children. And if that's really what he did, that's not great. There are certainly better ways. I've been in situations in which there was a fire in my building and I had to get everybody out. And at no point did I feel a need. And these were people of varying intellects, some with real intellectual impairments. It was a big office building in New York City. I found myself charged with getting everybody out safely. And it wasn't that difficult. At no point did I feel compelled to raise my voice or to swear. I just watched very carefully and was very methodical in the way I went about it. It really wasn't that difficult. Now, if I were having a panic attack, it's conceivable I would have started swearing. But again, these were all adults. What I'm picturing is that the parents are going, oh, no. Keep telling Santa what you want for Christmas. And the kids are going, oh, right, well, I want a little truck and I want a little this. And Santa's going, Jesus effing, get out of here. The place is burning down. But that might just be because I've got a predisposition toward mall Santas for some reason. Because all reports indicate that Santa just lost his shit for no good reason. So that's a shame. My sympathies to the people of St. Ives and their wives and their cats and their sacks. That does not sound like a jolly Christmas. So a report came out today, one which surprises me not at all. And in fact, if anything, I apologize. I don't take joy in the idea that others share my misery, but it's like, thank God I'm not the only one. Because I was one of the very first people to have gotten an iPad way back in the day. And I don't know if you remember this, but when the first generation iPad came out, if you got a plan through AT&T, which I did, all of your personal info, this is a greater hack as far as I'm concerned than anything that's happened to me on Facebook, the Google Plus hack, which yes, I got an email from Google. Thank you very much, Google, saying that I am one of 52.5 million users who have had all kinds of data leaked. People know all my personal information. Who knows this? What entities? What are they doing with it? Is there any way to get it back? How do I contact Google and say what's going on? No, none of that. Just here's a friendly heads up from your pals at Google who you pay for your web domain and your G Suite of apps and your Google Drive. Just giving you a friendly heads up that this shitty social network that failed, that we're going to close in 4 months anyway, turns out we're closing it today because we had a massive hack, which included 52.5 million users, which somehow we even had, because most people don't know we even exist, and one of them was you. Merry Christmas, which that too is inappropriate. I'm Jewish, but hey, technically I'm an agnostic, but thank you. Happy December. You can just wish me a happy birthday. My birthday is New Year's Eve. But the report that came out today from Transaction Network Services, who I've never heard of prior to now, but who I'm now really grateful to for just shining a light on this crap. 1/3 of calls, this includes cell phones and landlines, 1/3 are high risk or nuisance. You know, this shit drives me mad. Every morning, it's typically, look, my cats can wake me, that's fine. But just about every day, look, I'm an on-call voice actor and actor. I have to have my phone on. I can't be unavailable to the world. But these shitheads take advantage of that. And every morning I'm awakened pretty much 9 days out of 10 to, hi, this is Mary from Travel Services. And the high-risk ones, you know, I'm not a man of great intellect. I like to think of myself as pretty smart. But I think if I were just a fraction more dumb than I am, it could be very easy for me to fall prey to some of these scams. There are a lot of people who call me claiming to be representatives of the government, claiming that they're from the IRS and I'm getting audited, and if I don't call them back and give them a ton of Bitcoin, I'm going to be audited. I don't understand why this isn't treated as a bigger law enforcement problem than it is. Now, yes, is that nitpicky considering that we've got much bigger concerns in this country right now? Yes. But when you think about how many cops you see on the street arresting people or rousting them for being in the park after it's closed or for smoking one marijuana joint, how about these people calling possibly from other countries, possibly not? Who cares? They're impersonating government agents in a shakedown, and it's theft. And nuisance and annoyance. How is that not a problem that needs to be dealt with is beyond me. But again, this is all stuff for another administration. This one has its own worries. But they had something called the 2018 robo-call investigation report, which was done by TNS, the Transaction Network Services. And yes, this confirms everyone is going through the same hell as me. The overwhelming majority of these nuisance/dangerous phone calls happen on Mondays and Fridays, followed very closely. And this is another reason why if I could find these people, I am not a violent man, but I would dip them in acid. They call you most frequently Mondays, Fridays, often very early in the morning or right around dinner time, followed closely by Saturdays and Sundays. There is a special place in hell for these people, and I can't wait for them to get there. But in the meantime, it would be great. We do have all these government agencies. I know that many of them are basically unstaffed and may well go unfunded if there's a shutdown, which apparently Trump's threatening. But if anyone from any party, be they senators, congressmen, Democrats, Republicans, Gary Johnson doing that weird thing, biting your tongue, the amount of goodwill even a Mitch McConnell could get by introducing a bill that lays out heavy, heavy fines if you ruin somebody's day or threaten them by falsely impersonating a government agent, or just calling anybody who is on the government-registered FCC do not call list. You know, I was in radio for a long time. The FCC at that time was an entity to be feared. They were very powerful, and they flexed their muscle all the time. And I guess their last big sort of moment of glory was the weight they got to throw around and the fines they got to levy in the Super Bowl incident. Was it 2003 or 4 with Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake? Nipplegate, as it was called. If only we'd had hashtags back then, I'm sure it would have been hashtag Nipplegate. The NFL and the networks were fined millions upon millions. And radio stations, for instance, had to become very, very sterile, more even than they already were, because the FCC was this great governmental giant just levying fines right and left. Now they're the people who are in charge of protecting your privacy and supposedly staving off nuisances on the phone. That's just about all they've got left, because cable and streaming has taken over TV. In 2018, this is official as of today, there are more fictional, serialized dramas and comedies on streaming than there were on network and cable TV combined. So the FCC's been basically neutered. Between that and satellite radio and podcasts, the FCC's got nothing to do. But they could take all that anger, all that joy at messing up people's lives and finding them lots and lots of money for perceived wrongdoings, and go after actual criminals who don't just make life miserable, but actually successfully, they are running a con in most cases. You hear about people winning a cruise, and it's like, oh, great, you won. Congratulations. Now press 1 to give us your credit card for the small processing fee for this free cruise, which never materializes. Where is the FCC now, I ask? Because surely they're just sitting around bored, with TV and radio basically having been replaced by internet entities over which they've got little to no control. Although admittedly, they have gotten rid of net neutrality. That's something they did. Something horrible. Yeah, I guess all this stuff is something for another administration to take on. This Ajit Pai guy, I do not like him. He's the guy who not only stripped us of net neutrality, but then did all these videos celebrating it, and is just a big asshole. So you know what? Screw the FCC. But be very wary when answering phone calls. It is all too easy to fall prey to a scam, or at best, have your day ruined by an obnoxious robo-caller. Have a great night and get in touch with the Matt Sager podcast. Email matt@mattsager.com or call 646-535-4788. Or hit me up on Twitter. I'm @Matt Sager there. And on Instagram, I'm Real Matt Sager. Facebook is The Matt Sager. And I've got a voiceover page there as well, Matt Sager VO. This podcast has a page there, of course. It's facebook.com/Matt Sager Podcast. Also, check out the links in the description for tonight's episode for links to my Patreon and my merch store from my very good friends at wehavemerch.com. And for the rest, my voiceover reels and contact info, archive back episodes of this podcast, my articles, blog posts, and much more. You can find all that at mattsagervoiceover.com.